Have you ever stopped yourself from trying something new and said, "I'm too old for that"? Maybe it was dancing at a family wedding, joining a painting class at the community center, or even taking a spontaneous trip somewhere you've never been. That little voice inside that whispers, "You're too old for this," can feel so convincing. And yet, it might be one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves as we get older. The truth is, age doesn't decide what we're capable of. Our habits do. And one of the most damaging habits we can pick up after 60 is letting that phrase, "I'm too old for that," creep into our daily thinking. Because once it takes root, it starts limiting not just our choices, but our confidence, our creativity, and even our health. And it does it so quietly, you barely notice it's happening. Sometimes it slips out when you're offered something unfamiliar, like technology. Maybe your grandchild wants to teach you a new app, and your first reaction is, "I'll never get the hang of that." But what if you did? What if that app helped you connect with family more often, or discover a new hobby you never imagined enjoying? When we shut ourselves down before we even try, we lose opportunities that might have brought us joy. The biggest problem with saying "I'm too old for that" is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you keep saying it, you start believing it. And when you believe it, your actions begin to match those beliefs. You say no to things you used to love. You don't challenge your body with new exercises. You stop pushing your mind to stay sharp. Before you know it, life feels smaller. Not because it has to be, but because you've built walls that didn't need to be there. But here's the hopeful part. You can shift that mindset. You really can. You can replace "I'm too old for that" with "Why not me?" or "What if I just try?" That single change can open doors to new experiences that add years, not just to your life, but life to your years. Studies have even shown that people who believe aging can be a time of growth and exploration live longer, healthier lives. The science backs it up. Mindset matters. Sometimes we pick up this habit of saying, "I'm too old for that," without even realizing it. It might start as a joke. Maybe you laugh and say it when someone suggests going ice skating or learning a new language. But little by little, that kind of thinking can shape how we see ourselves. And the more we say it, the more it becomes our truth. Even if our bodies are willing, even if our minds are still curious, that one phrase shuts the door before we even peek through it. But there's something magical that happens when we challenge that habit, even in small ways. Maybe you try a new recipe you've never made before, or you decide to take a walk in a part of town you haven't visited in years. It doesn't have to be skydiving or climbing a mountain, although if that's on your list, why not? Sometimes the biggest victories come from the tiniest shifts in what we allow ourselves to explore. A little curiosity goes a long way after 60. What's interesting is that the people who age with the most vitality often aren't the ones who avoid risk or play it safe. They're the ones who keep learning, keep moving, keep discovering. They let themselves be beginners again at music, at gardening, at using the latest phone. And in doing so, they keep their minds sharp, their spirits full, and their lives rich with meaning. Not because they didn't have aches or limitations, but because they chose to focus on what's still possible. It's also okay to be unsure or feel awkward when trying something new. That's part of the fun. Think back to when you were a child. You didn't walk perfectly the first time. You didn't ride a bike without falling. But you didn't give up because someone said you were too old. You kept trying because you believed you could. That same spirit still lives in you, no matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake. So the next time that phrase creeps into your mind, I'm too old for that. Try answering it with a question instead. What if I'm not? You might be amazed by what follows. That painting class you almost skipped, it could lead to new friendships. That walking group you thought you couldn't keep up with. It might just give you the energy you didn't know you still had. Life after 60 doesn't shrink unless we let it. In fact, it can expand in the most beautiful ways if we let go of the habit that tells us we've run out of time. One of the quiet dangers of this too old mindset is how it chips away at our confidence bit by bit. You might not even notice it at first. Maybe you pass on walking to the store and ask someone else to go instead. Or you stop reading the news because the headlines feel overwhelming. Before long, these small decisions add up, and your world becomes just a little smaller every day. Not because it has to, but because that inner voice keeps whispering, "That's not for you anymore." But you don't have to listen to that voice. In fact, every time you push back, even just a little, you grow stronger. You remind yourself that growth doesn't end with age. It just changes shape. Instead of racing forward, you move deeper. Deeper into what matters. Deeper into what brings you joy. Whether that's learning to knit, joining a book club, or simply getting outside every morning to feel the sun on your face, you get to decide what kind of life you want to live, no matter your age. Sometimes we convince ourselves that slowing down means stopping, but slowing down is natural. It doesn't mean we stop creating, dreaming, or exploring. There's still so much ahead that can make your heart beat faster, in the best way. You don't need to do everything all at once, but you also don't need to sit on the sidelines. You've earned the right to enjoy life fully. And sometimes that starts with simply saying yes to something you would have said no to last year. And yes, there will be challenges. Maybe your knees don't move like they used to, or your memory occasionally plays tricks on you. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you might need to do things a little differently. And that's not failure, it's adaptation. One of the strongest traits you've likely developed over a lifetime is resilience. That ability to adjust, to overcome, to carry on. So when your body asks for more patience, give it. But never stop giving yourself permission to keep growing. Here's something beautiful to remember. Some of the richest seasons in life come later. Think about trees in autumn. They don't stop being beautiful because they're nearing the end of a cycle. In fact, their colors become more vibrant. Their presence becomes more noticeable. Aging can be the same way if we allow ourselves to lean into it with courage instead of fear. And that starts by dropping the habit that tries to tell us our best days are behind us. Think about all the things that were once considered impossible until someone your age or older decided otherwise. There are people in their 70s running marathons for the first time. People in their 80s learning to play instruments they never touched before. Gardeners, painters, poets, mentors. Some starting from scratch, not because they always had the time, but because they finally gave themselves permission to try. The key difference? They didn't let "I'm too old" stop them. They replaced it with "Why not now?" Sometimes all it takes is one small act of bravery. Maybe you sign up for a local class, even though you don't know anyone there. Or you try writing a short story for the first time in decades, just to see what words spill out. These moments may seem small, but they're how transformation begins. They're proof that age doesn't close the door to possibility. It simply changes the scenery through which we experience it. It adds depth, richness, wisdom. What a gift. You may even find that trying something new brings you closer to others. When you drop the fear of looking silly or not being good at it, you open space for connection. People are drawn to curiosity, to warmth, to the kind of gentle courage that says, "I'm still learning." And what a powerful example that is to set for your children, your grandchildren, your friends. It reminds them that life is meant to be lived all the way through, not just endured in the later chapters. When we stop saying "I'm too old," we stop building limits around what's possible. You might discover a love for something you never considered, or reignite a passion you thought was long gone. Even if it's something quiet and simple, like growing herbs in a window box or learning to meditate for 5 minutes each morning, it still counts. These small actions tell your body and your brain, "We're not done yet." And they'll respond with surprising strength when given that message. You're not too old to start over. You're not too old to be a beginner. And you're definitely not too old to matter. You still have stories to tell, ideas to share, moments to create. No expiration date has been stamped on your dreams. You get to define what this chapter looks like, and it can be anything but ordinary if you're willing to turn the page with hope instead of hesitation. Sometimes we wait for permission that never comes. We wait for someone to say, "It's okay to try again," or "It's not too late for you." But maybe what we really need is to give ourselves that permission. You don't need a green light from anyone else to learn something new, to go somewhere you've never been, or to simply try. You just need a little bit of courage and a willingness to get started, even if it's messy, even if it's slow. If there's something tugging at your heart, a hobby you miss, a skill you want to learn, a conversation you've been meaning to have, follow it. That tug is there for a reason. It means there's still a spark inside you, waiting to be fed. Age doesn't dim that spark unless we stop tending to it. And the beautiful thing is, no matter how long it's been, you can still fan it back into flame. Your life isn't on pause unless you press the button. It's so easy to compare ourselves to who we once were, to the version of us that was faster, more agile, maybe a bit sharper. But you're not meant to be that person forever. You've grown, you've changed, and there's power in who you are now. Maybe you move at a different pace, but you also see things with deeper clarity. Maybe you speak more softly, but your words carry the weight of experience. There's beauty in that. Don't dismiss it. Even when the body resists, even when the joints ache or the memory falters, there's still so much life inside you. And the moment you catch yourself thinking, "I'm too old for this," take a breath and challenge it. Ask instead, "What would happen if I just tried?" You might surprise yourself. You might rediscover strength. You might feel joy rise in your chest the way it hasn't in years. That's the magic of giving yourself a chance. You don't need to do it all at once. Just one step. Just one yes, where you used to say no. It could be as simple as picking up a paintbrush, joining a new class, or walking a little farther than yesterday. These are not small things. They are moments of courage. And every time you choose to push past "I'm too old," you create space for possibility. Not because you're ignoring your age, but because you're honoring your life. As we journey through life, it's easy to let habits of thinking quietly shape our days. Saying "I'm too old for that" can feel like a small thing, but it quietly closes doors on experiences that could light us up. The truth is, life after 60 is a fresh chapter, not a final one. It's a chance to explore new passions, deepen old ones, and embrace the unexpected joys that come from stepping outside our comfort zone. Remember, The greatest gift you can give yourself is permission. Permission to grow, to change, to surprise even yourself. When you release the limits of too old, you open the door to possibility and vitality. You may find yourself laughing more, learning more, and feeling more alive than you have in years. Age becomes just a number, no longer a barrier, but a badge of a life well lived and still unfolding. I'd love to hear your thoughts and stories. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I'm too old for that," only to prove yourself wrong? Or is there something you've been thinking about trying, but haven't yet? Share in the comments below. Your experiences might just inspire someone else to take that first step. If you found this video helpful or uplifting, please like it and subscribe to the channel for more videos that celebrate living fully at every age. Here's to living your best life at any age. The door is open, and the next chapter is yours to write. So go ahead, try, explore, dream. You are never too old for that.